Kakalosh Boker Or, Daf Yomi Masechet Batra Daf Kuf Sonach Zayin Amud Aleph 167a1. Says the Gemara Amar Abaye says, Hi man de Baile Mechve Chatimot Yede Bevedina. Somebody that has to show a dugma of a chatimot yad in the bedin, lo lichave besov megilta. Don't show it at the end of the klaf, which means don't sign at the end and leave a place empty, but rather do it at the beginning of the page. Dilma mashkach leacher, but somebody else is going to find it. Vekati dumas, then he's going to sign, that somebody owes him money. Utzranan, we already said, Otzi alav ktav yado, shu chayav lo gove b'nechasim b'nechorin. He's going to even collect from b'nechasim b'nechorin. You understand what happened? Imagine right now you have to come and you have to show me what's your signature. So you come, you take the piece of paper, and you sign at the bottom, right? You come and you sign at the bottom of right your signature. So what am I going to do? I'm going to come and say, Mordechai chayav li $1 million. Yeah, and he's already signed. Yeah, that's it. So he says, you know what you do? Make sure you sign it on the top. He says, why? Because there's nothing what to do anymore. On the top is already on the top. The bottom is the problem. So don't do that on the bottom, because if not, I could write whatever I want.
Don't leave a space on the top.
Exactly. Don't leave a space on the top. So says the Gemara, there was a story of somebody that collected taxes, right? A Jew that came in front of Abaye. Amaleh, and he told him, let me see your chatimat yedo. So the Chachamim come, they want to show me, right? In order that I should be ma'avirotam without to pay them. Why? Because I know that this is your chatima, right? According to the dugma, right? So he says, Achvile beresh megilta. He showed him at the top of the page. Have a kanagid bay. So he went, right, and he tried to push it downwards in order. Amarle karaka demucha rabbanan. I apologize. The rabbis came in front of you. Meaning the guy came and he was trying to push it on the bottom so he could sign on the bottom. But Abaye said, I apologize. I'm only signing on the top. Right? He already said the rabbis already came before you. Meaning the rabbis already knew exactly what, No, what he's trying to say is, the Amar Abaye comes and he says, Mitzlat v'ad eser. Right? The number 3 until 10. Lo lichtov besov hashita. Never write at the end of the line. Dilma mizayef katav, because then all he has to do is add in the yod nun sofit, right? And then it becomes, right, 30 or 40. Everyone understood what happened? Everyone understood what happened? Everyone understood what happened? One more time. If I'm going to write down shalosh, so how do you write that? Tlat. If I want to change that and I write that at the end of the line, you know what I have to do? I add in the letter yod and nun sofit. Now what does it become? Tlatin. How much is tlatin? 30. Arba is 4, right? Right? No, but even tlat is shalosh, not even tlata, because tlata you would have to take off the aleph and then add the yud. Here it's tlat or arba. Arba is 4. I just after the arba I add yod nun sofit. Arbain 40. Hamsha chamesh hamshin shesh shishin. Right? Sheva, shiv'ain. Each one of them, all I have to do is just add the yod and non sofit, and I just added a 0 at the end. So he comes and he says, never write it at the end of the line. Because all I have to do is just add in yod, nun sofit, and that's it. I just changed the entire value. What happens if it comes out? Go over it 2 or 3 times within the document. Right? But for sure it has to be in the middle of the shita. Meaning, if I did do, and it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until 10, doesn't matter what it is. If it's going to be at the end of the line, make sure I go over the same number 2 or 3 times in the document, because for sure at least once it's going to be in the middle of the line. And if I'm going to find it in the middle of the line that it's written 2 or 3, not 2, but I'm saying like, whatever it is, how do you call this? Let's say 3, 4, or 5, whatever, those numbers. So he says, so therefore I'm going to already realize that there was a mistake here. Because in one place it says, let's say, for example, it says tlatin, which is 30, and then later on it says tlat. And then another place it says tlat. And so I already say, 1 second, there's something here. Meaning it's impossible that here it's 30 and then it keeps on saying 3, 3, 3, 3. Or here it says 40 and it's really 4, 4, 4. You understand? So for sure there was a monkey business going around over here. Okay? There was another story. There was once it was written, Tilta befardeisa, right? A third of the pardes. So So he went and he took, right, and he erased, right, and he made it into a vav. Meaning, if you look at the kaf, at the bet, sorry, look at the bet. The bet is really like a vav, but then on the bottom you've got like another line coming out to the left, and on the top also a line to the left. So you just erased it. So now it looks like a vav, and it says upardeisa. So now what does that mean? Timta upardeisa. It means that kilu, that he's giving him a third of the gina and the orchard. Meaning, instead of a third of the orchard, it's like a third of the property and the orchard. So Abai came from Elmaleh, he told him, why is it as if to say that there's such an empty space between the vav and the pardesa? You understand what he did? When you have a bet before, right? You have a bet and then the pay. So the bet, there's a very little space between the bet and the pay. What did the guy do? He cut off the leg, the top part and the leg of the bet, and now it was only the vav, like this, right? The vav. So this part he cut off, and this part he cut off. Now, where's the pay? The pay didn't move. The pay is still here. So Abaye comes and he says, 1 second, why is there a space between the vav and the pay? Right? He already realized there's something weird here. There's something wrong. So even if the guy came and he was a master, that he was able to, chop it off and, like to take it out and kilo, you don't see anything. There was something here. So what happened? When he said, what's going on? So kafte vode, he tied him up, right? Which means he forced him basically, and he admitted. So basically, he forced him to admit that really meant is what he did. He actually forged it. Okay, another story. How does the katav be minat Reuven v'Shimon achi? Right, the portion of the karka of the brothers Reuven and Shimon that they have in a certain place, right, that he sold to a certain person. So he had a brother that his name was also Ache. Right, that means one more time. Ache just means brother, but a brother's name was also called Ache. So when it said Menat Reuven v'Shimon Ache, so Ache, does that mean Reuven and Shimon his brother, or Reuven, Shimon, and Ache his brothers? So Azal Katav Bey Vav v'Shav Yaviache. Now, in order to mean and his brothers, if you're just saying Reuven and Shimon his brothers, you don't have a Vav before Ache. But if you want to say Reuven, Shimon, and Ache, so you have to add a Vav. So what did he do? He added a Vav. Elmaleh, he says, why is this Vav squished? Meaning, it said Reuven v'Shimon, and then Achei, there was a Vav before, so it was squished. Because you have to fit it in. So he says, why is it squished? Oh, there's something here. Yeah? Why is it squished, Kuliyai? Again, he forced the guy until he admitted it. Another story. It was signed by Rava and Ravacha. The Rava that came from Rava. Elmaleh, he says, Den chatimat didihu. He says, 1 second, this is my signature. He says, 1 second. It's true. This is my signature. But I never signed in front of Ravacha Barada. So there's a problem. What's the problem? Witnesses, it has to be forged because witnesses are not allowed to sign one not in front of the other. Meaning when you have two witnesses which are signing, right, you have to sign one in front of the other together. So he went and he said, listen, this is my signature, but I have a problem. I never signed in front of Ravacha. Meaning Ravacha, we never signed in front of each other. So there's a problem here. Yeah? Kafte ve'ode. So again, he forced him, and that's it. And he said, yeah, it's true, it was forged. He says, I understand you were mezayef oti, right? That is, how did you do it? Because basically he used to tremble. He used to have like Parkinson's type of thing. So therefore he used to you could tell that he was trembling when he was signing it. So Amari said, Anchit yadai amitzra. I put my hand on a rope, which was like basically on top of a gesha between two things, and it was always moving. The rope was moving. The amri la kam azarnuke. And some people say, he says, no, he was on a mitkam, which was, they were getting water, and therefore it was always moving. So since it was always moving, it was like the signature was like, like exactly the way that he would have signed it. So he went and he said, listen, you signed mine. It's very easy to forge my signature. But how did you sign his signature? How did you forge his signature? It's so difficult, right? He said, no, this is what he did. In order to forge, he forged both signatures because also Ravacha Barava the same thing. So that's how he went and he forged both signatures. Says the Mishnah on the bottom, Kuf Samik Zayin Amud Aleph, on the bottom. Kotvin get leisha fabishen ishto imod. You know, you write a get to a woman, even though the husband's not, well, even though the wife is not with him, right? Veshovar, and also a shovar for a woman. Afal pishen ba'alaima, even though the wife, the husband is not with her. Uvilvad sheyeh makiran, as long as you know who the husband and the wife is. Meaning, as long as you know who they are, then we could write it. But if not, then we're not going to write it. Yes. Okay. Okay. Next. Okay. Right? Ve'abal noten eschar. Now, who pays for the get? The husband. So the husband has to pay for all these documents. Okay. Kotvin says in the next part of the Mishnah, Kuf Samech Zayin Mubet, 167b. Kotvin shtale loveach bishel malveimo. We're going to write a document of a borrowing that you borrowed money even though the lender is not here, right? Ve'en kotvin malveach, but we never write it for the lender unless the borrower is there. Va'loven noten schar. Now, who pays for the document? The borrower, because since he's borrowing the money, he has to pay for the document. Kotvin shtar lamocher. Afal pishel lokechimo. We're going to write a document for the seller, even though the buyer is not with him, right? Because again, at the end of the day, why not? You understand? Like you're selling your property. Okay, I don't care if the buyer's not here, but you're selling it. So you write it down. But we're not going to write it for the purchaser unless the seller is with him. Who pays for it? The purchaser. He has to pay for the document. We're never going to write a shtar, whether it's going to be a verusin or nisuin, unless the both parties are there. The part of the chatan and the kala. The chatan noten eschar. Who pays? The chatan. The chatan is getting married, so he has to pay. We're never going to write a document of arisut v'kablanut. Arisut is a sharecropper, or kablanut, the way that you're taking the field, unless both the parties are there. The one that's accepting it, he's the one that's going to write the document. They're not going to write down any shtar of birur. Birur means that they're going to start evaluating back and forth the proofs. Or Maaseh Bedin. Maaseh Bedin is what the psak of Bedin was. Unless both the parties are going to be there. So here, since it's needed for both, so both have to pay for the wages. Rashba says, Lishnehem, you write it for both of them. The Shnaim Lezeh, that's right, and it's going to be Shnaim, two documents, right, of Birurin. One for each person. I mean, we're not writing one document, we're writing two separate documents, the same document to each of the two different people. Okay, says the Gemara. Gemara Kuf Samach Zayin Amud Bet. My uvilvad shei makiram. What does it mean that you have to know who the husband and the wife are? So I'm going to review the Marav. Says uvilvad shei makir shemaish b'get. You have to know the name of the man in the get. The shemaisha b'shovar, or in the name of the woman in the shovar. Which means the sofer and the edim, they have to know exactly what's the name of the person that's coming in front of them in order to make sure that they're giving out the right get and the right shovar. So Yativ Rav Savar Rav Chaber Huna Rai Bar Chinana Yativ Abai Gabayo Abai was there Yativ Vekabem Bailu. So they asked the question: Shema Isha beget in Shema Isha lo Shema Isha b'shovar in Shema Ishlo. Well, you only have to know one of them. Meaning, if you're writing a get, you only have to know the man, not the woman. If you're writing a shovar, you only have to know the woman and not the man. That's where he goes, right? So he says, "Velechush." Why don't we suspect? Dilma katav gita ve'azil mantelelita tedach. Maybe he's going to want to come and write a get. And then what's going to happen is that he's going to give it to the other guy's wife, right? Meaning he's going to come, write a get, give it to somebody else's wife, and they don't even know who and then that's it. Because you only know the man, you don't know who the woman is. That's it. It's an incredible way. Imagine, right? You have a person that he's got the same names, husband and wife. He comes and he says, you know what? I got married to the wrong one. It was the wrong frecha. So what does he do? He writes a get to his frecha. Now they don't know who the frecha is. He goes, he gives it to the other woman. He says, by the way, your husband here, I gave you a get. And now he wants to come and he wants to get married to her. She thinks that she got a get. Her husband never, nothing was ever cooking. You understand? So therefore, he says, how do we do that? Right? So he says, Zimni azla katva isha shovar, or a woman's going to write a shovar. If you have a legavra, delav dila, and she's going to give it to another husband that's not even hers. Samalu Abai comes and he says, this is what Rav said. Shemaish begev v'odin l'shemaisha, shemaisha b'shovar v'odin. No, you have to know the name of the man and the woman. The name of the man in the get, and also the name of the woman in the get, and the name of the woman in the shovar, and the name of the man in the shovar. But we had to write down the main one. The shovar, the receipt, is for the woman, right? Right, and the get is for the man. He has to give it over. So he comes and he says, well, why don't we suspect two Yosef and Shimon living in the same city? That maybe he's going to write a get and he's going to give it to the other woman. They have to divorce in front of each other. Meaning, when you have two Yosef ben Shimons married to, let's say, Dinah, again, two Yosef ben Shimons married to Dinah, they have to get divorced in front of each other in order to make sure that there's not going to be any monkey business. That nobody could say, maybe it was for the other one, maybe it was then. No, 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 no. They're both here. They both have to be there. Okay, so we ask, Dilma Azil Matachrid, maybe he's going to go to another city. And he's going to, his name is Yosef ben Shimon. The Katav Gita, he's going to write his get, and then he's going to come and he's going to give it to the wife. The second that he has a chazakah, that this is his name for 30 days, we're not going to suspect anything. What happens if we don't have the chazakah? Meaning, imagine right now you come to the synagogue, right? And you came from Honolulu. All of a sudden, what's my name? Rafael, right? So after 30 days, I'm not going to start suspecting. I'm going to start saying, no, maybe Bemet he's a con artist and his name is Joe, or I don't know what. You understand? You understand? So he says, right? So what happens is he comes and he says, that once a person has a chazakah, that's it. Meaning the guy has a name for 30 days, I'm not going to worry about it. Abai says the Karolevani, not only that, they have to call him and he has to answer. Meaning why? Because if not, if I'm going to call your name and you don't answer, that means it's not really your name. So for you have to be accustomed enough that, like in the instinct right away. I mean, that Behemet is your name. Zvid argues, he says, no. Ramama'a biramuta zahir. A Ramai is always going to be very, very careful in his amos. Meaning, if I come and I say my name is, I don't know what, yeah, Jacques. So I'm going to be very, very careful that right away I'm going to do it. Yeah. Hau Tavra, there was a story with a Ketubat Shovar, right? There was a receipt. Tavachati Mala that was signed by Rav Yomi Baraba. Ata the Kameda Yita, they came in front of this woman. Amra Nishtel Amana Vai, it's not me. Amari said, Ana Nami Amrilu. I also said the same thing. Lav Ihihi, it's not her. The Amruli, they told me, Makishu de Kashala. Askeri Skino Bagala Kala, now she's got a heavier voice. Amra Baya says, Afakav da Amaru Banan, even though the rabbis came and they said, Kevan Shegit Shonachozomegi, once he said, that's it. Right? It's not normal that he's going to pay attention to the women. And therefore, the first Haggadah is not normal, meaning that he didn't really pay attention about her voice or about how she looks or about this and that. So because of that, that's why Behemet this could happen in such a case.